Welcome back to my channel, The Coins World. Today, we are going to dive into the fascinating history of the Philippine 25 Sentimo coin from 1980. This small but important coin is more than just a piece of change. It is a window into the political, cultural, and economic landscape of the Philippines during a transformative period. So, let's explore its detailed history in depth, and by the end, you'll see why even such a humble coin can capture so much history and national pride. The 1980-5 Sentimo coin was issued during the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos, a time when the Philippines was under martial law. This coin reflected not only the economic policies of that period, but also the national identity being promoted through numismatics. Made of copper nickel, the coin had durability and a silvery appearance, making it practical for circulation. It was part of the Flora and Fauna series, which showcased the Philippines' rich biodiversity. On the obverse side, the coin prominently features the portrait of Juan Luna, one of the greatest Filipino painters and nationalists. Luna was known for his masterpieces like Spoliarium, and his presence on the coin highlighted Filipino contributions to art and nationhood. The inscription, Republica ng Pilipinas, surrounds Luna's portrait, a reminder of the country's independence and sovereignty. The year 1980 appears below, marking its place in history. Coins minted during this time were part of a larger national effort to reinforce pride in Filipino heritage. On the reverse side, the 25 Sentimo coin features the Philippine coat of arms. This design symbolizes government authority, unity, and protection of the nation. The shield of the coat of arms contains the sun and three stars, representing Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, the three main island groups of the Philippines. Also visible are the eagle symbolizing the country's friendship with the United States, and the lion, a nod to Spanish heritage reflecting the Philippines' colonial past and international ties. The denomination 25 Sentimo is boldly inscribed, making the coin easy to identify in daily transactions. The Flora and Fauna series, including this coin, aimed to educate Filipinos about their national heroes, wildlife, and heritage through currency design. Juan Luna's presence on the coin also reminded Filipinos of their struggles for independence and the importance of cultural pride. In the 1980s, coins like the 25 Sentimo were common in markets, jeepney fairs, and sari-sari store purchases, making them part of daily life. Collectors today view the 1980-5 Sentimo coin as a nostalgic reminder of a critical decade in Philippine history. While its face value was small, the symbolic value of honoring Juan Luna was priceless. The coin also reflects how the Philippines used currency as a teaching tool, highlighting history, culture, and identity. Over time, the 25 Sentimo coin was replaced by newer issues, but those minted in 1980 remain highly collectible. Some versions of this coin, depending on condition and rarity, can fetch much higher prices in the numismatic market. Uncirculated or proof versions of the 1980 25 Sentimo coin are especially prized by collectors around the world. The design demonstrates the blend of heritage and modernization in Philippine coinage during the Marcos era. Juan Luna's face on the obverse side continues to inspire art lovers and patriots, connecting currency with national pride. The reverse side, with the coat of arms, ties the coin to the Philippines' governance and sovereignty. Each coin was struck with careful detail, ensuring durability for years of circulation. The 1980 25 Sentimo coin was also a reflection of the Philippines' commitment to honor its heroes through currency design. It is fascinating to think that such a small coin carried with it stories of history, politics, and culture. Collectors who hold on to this coin today often see it as more than just money. It is a piece of heritage. The 1980 25 Sentimo coin remains a silent witness to the nation's journey during a time of change and resilience. In conclusion, the Philippine 25 Sentimo coin of 1980 is not just an old coin, it is a national treasure in miniature, connecting Filipinos to their art, history, and identity in every detail. Of President Ferdinand Marcos, who had been in power since 1965, the nation was experiencing significant political tension, economic challenges, and growing calls for reform. The Central Bank of the Philippines, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP, was responsible for issuing the country's coinage, which reflected the economic and cultural identity of the nation. The 1985 1 Piso coin belonged to the Flora and Fauna series, a set of coins introduced in 1983 to replace the previous Ang Bagong Lipunan ABL series. This series aimed to showcase the country's natural heritage, featuring plants, flowers, and animals alongside notable Filipino heroes. The engraving was sharp and detailed, reflecting advances in minting technology of the period. The reverse shows the Philippine coconut palm, Cocos nucifera, a plant deeply tied to Philippine agriculture, economy, and culture. Banco Central ng Pilipinas encircling the top. The value 1 piso prominently at the center. The coconut tree represents the versatility and economic importance of the Philippines. Agricultural products. The coin was minted in large quantities by the Banco Central ng Pilipinas and, in some cases, through contracted mints abroad for efficiency. The copper-nickel alloy was chosen for durability and resistance to corrosion in the humid, tropical climate of the Philippines. 1985. The Philippine peso faced inflationary pressures due to political unrest and a weakening economy. The value of the peso was declining compared to major foreign currencies, making coins like the 1 piso more common for everyday, small transactions rather than large purchases. At the time, Philippine peso 1 could still buy small snacks, jeepney fares, or a loaf of bread, quite different from today's purchasing power. The 1 piso, 1985 coin was part of a broader effort to promote national pride. Each denomination in the series carried an image of an important plant or animal species, pairing it with a hero to symbolize the richness of both Philippine history and nature. 1985 1 piso remained in circulation until the BSP launched the BSP series in 1991, which replaced the flora and fauna designs with new ones. January 2, 1998, the BSP demonetized the flora and fauna coins, meaning they were no longer legal tender. However, they remain collectible today, especially in uncirculated or proof condition. Common circulated condition, low numismatic value, often 10 to 20 Philippine pesos for average worn coins. Uncirculated condition can fetch higher prices, Philippine peso 50 to 150, depending on mint state and rarity of strike. Proof or mint error coins, these can be more valuable, especially if they show doubling, MIS strikes, or off-center minting. Collectors often seek the 1985 issue because it is among the later years of the flora and fauna. 1 piso before the redesign. The 19851 piso is more than just an old coin, it's a small piece of Philippine history. It represents the artistry of coin design during the Marcos era. 1 piso coin minted in 1985 came at a turbulent time in Philippine history. President Ferdinand Marcos had been in power for 2 decades, and the country was under heavy political strain. The assassination of opposition leader Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. in 1983 had intensified public dissent, leading to a period of uncertainty. The economy was struggling, and inflation was slowly eroding the value of the peso. 1983. The Banco Central ng Pilipinas, BSP, made the decision to retire the Ang Bagong Lipunan ABL coinage series, which had been closely tied to the Marcos era political slogan New Society. The replacement, the Flora and Fauna series, was meant to focus less on politics and more on national pride, celebrating the Philippines' rich biodiversity, while still honoring national heroes. Jose Acute Rizal, featured on the 1985 1 piso obverse, was not a new face in Philippine coinage. His image had appeared on multiple peso coins since the 1960s. By keeping Rizal on the largest base denomination coin, the BSP ensured that the country's most revered hero remained part of daily transactions. His presence reinforced ideals of education, patriotism, and reform. The reverse design featuring the coconut tree was more than aesthetic. In the 1980s, coconuts were a major export commodity for the Philippines, especially in the form of copra and coconut oil. The tree's versatility, providing food, drink, shelter, and raw materials, symbolized the resilience and resourcefulness of the Filipino people. The coin's copper-nickel composition was chosen for durability, but there was also an economic factor. Rising metal prices meant the BSP had to balance durability with cost efficiency. Copper-nickel alloys provided a silvery appearance while resisting corrosion in the Philippines' humid climate. Back then, the 1 piso coin had substantial purchasing power. In Manila, 1 peso could pay for a short jeepney ride, buy a small serving of halo-halo, or get a pack of chewing gum. In rural areas, it could cover the price of fresh produce or a newspaper. It was truly a workhorse denomination, pairing a hero with a plant. The Flora and Fauna series visually tied together to major pillars of the Philippines' identity, its human legacy and its natural heritage. The 19851 Piso reinforced this connection every time it exchanged hand. While the coin looked impressive, the value of the peso was slowly declining. In the 1980s, the government faced debt crises, and the exchange rate against the US dollar weakened. This economic reality meant that coins like the 1 Piso began to be used for smaller, everyday items rather than medium-value transactions. The BSP used modern coin presses, capable of high-speed production. Each 1985 1 Piso blank was punched from copper-nickel sheets. The BSP coin series, issued from 1995 to 2017 for some denominations with a modern, unified design that incorporated updated security features, lighter weight metals, and themes that showcase the country's rich history and natural heritage. Before 2011, the BSP noticed that the smaller denominations, especially centavo coins, were underused or often hoarded and melted for scrap because of rising metal prices. The new series aimed to reduce production costs by using cheaper metal alloys, modernize the national currency design, and promote national symbols. By 2013, the NGC coins were in full production, including the 10 Sentimo, which had a fresh look compared to previous decades. Issues. The 10 Sentimo 2013 coin featured a minimalist yet symbolic design. The denomination 10 Sentimo prominently displayed the official seal of the Bangko Sentral NG. Filipinas updated in 2010 to a modern look, smooth edges unlike earlier reeded designs of past coins. To make the coin cost-effective, the BSP used nickel-plated steel for the 10 Sentimo. This metal was durable, rust-resistant, and less expensive than the copper-based alloys of older coins. The coin had a small diameter, around 17 millimeters, and was very lightweight, making it the smallest denomination in the NGC series. 2013, inflation had significantly reduced the purchasing power of the 10 Sentimo coin. It was primarily used for exact change in supermarkets, public transportation fare adjustments, and utility bill payments. Despite its limited buying power, the coin remained essential for accounting purposes and was legally required to be accepted as part of exact payments. The inclusion of the Kappa plant was part of the BSP's initiative to highlight native flora on lower denomination coins. This plant is known for its striking pink bracts and flowers, symbolizing beauty and natural pride. It also reflected the Philippines' commitment to biodiversity preservation, as the coin series featured native plants on smaller denominations and native fauna on higher coins. The year 2013 was significant for the BSP because it was in the early stages of completely transitioning to the NGC coin series. During this time, the mint faced challenges in public education about the new designs, as many Filipinos initially found the new coins too similar in color and size. While the 2013 10 Sentimo is not rare in circulated condition, uncirculated and proof-like specimens are sought by collectors. These coins have value mainly for numismatic completeness, especially for those building full-year sets of the NGC series. Certain error coins from 2013, such as off-center strikes or misaligned dies, can fetch higher prices in the collector's market. Though it may seem like just a tiny coin, its story connects to the nation's culture, economy, and history in powerful ways. Let's explore this fascinating coin in depth. The 10 Sentimo coin of 1972 belongs to the second series of coins issued by the Central Bank of the Philippines after the country gained independence. It was part of the Ang Bagong Lipunan, the New Society program, launched during the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos. This era emphasized nationalism, economic reform, and new symbols of progress. The obverse of the coin features the portrait of Francisco Baltasar, also known as Francisco Balagtas, the great Filipino poet often called the Prince of Tagalog poets. His most famous work, Florandi at Laura, is a cornerstone of Philippine literature. By placing Balagtas on the 10 Sentimo, the government highlighted the importance of culture and identity. The reverse side of the coin carried the seal of the Central Bank of the Philippines, Bangko Sentral NG Pilipinas, symbolizing monetary stability and authority. The inclusion of the central bank seal was meant to assure Filipinos of the credibility of their money during a time of political and economic transition. This coin was minted in copper-nickel-clad steel, giving it durability and a silvery appearance. At just 10 centimos, its value was modest, but it served millions of Filipinos daily for small transactions such as jeepney fares, candies, newspapers, and other essentials. The year 1972 was also significant because it was the same year Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in the Philippines. Coins like the 10 Sentimo became silent witnesses to a turbulent chapter in Philippine history, circulating in the hands of ordinary citizens during an era of political control and economic challenges. Placing baliktas on the coin was no accident. Marcos wanted to promote Filipino nationalism, and baliktas represented the voice of the Filipino people, their struggles, and their dreams for freedom. In a way, the coin was not just currency but also a political and cultural message. The coin was small, light, and often overlooked, yet it was part of everyday Filipino life. For children, it meant a chance to buy sweets or toys. For workers, it was part of their fare or small savings. For collectors, it was an artifact, carrying symbols of an evolving nation. The design of the coin was created under the supervision of the Central Bank's Currency Management Committee, with input from Filipino historians and artists. Their aim was to balance practicality with cultural symbolism, ensuring the coin would resonate with the people. In terms of dimensions, the 1972 10 Sentimo coin was 17 millimeters in diameter and very lightweight. Its modest size reflected its low purchasing. Coins like the 10 Sentimo also served an educational purpose. By featuring historical figures like baliktas, they introduced young Filipinos to national heroes and icons, making the currency not just a medium of exchange but a tool for learning. Interestingly, the 1972 10 Sentimo was part of a wider reorganization of Philippine coinage. The central bank gradually replaced older designs with new ones that better reflected the Bagong Lipunan ideology, where economic reform and nationalism were central themes. The coin circulated widely throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Though its value was small, it remained an essential part of everyday commerce, especially in local markets where every centavo counted. From a collector's perspective, the 10 Sentimo 1972 is highly symbolic. While not rare in circulation, well-preserved specimens in uncirculated condition are sought after by numismatists, particularly those specializing in Philippine coinage during the martial law period. The coin also highlights the influence of Spanish heritage on Philippine culture. Baliktas wrote in Tagalog during the Spanish colonial period, showing the resilience of Filipino identity despite centuries of foreign rule. His presence on the coin was a nod to cultural pride. During the early 1970s, inflation was slowly rising and the value of smaller coins like the 10 Sentimo began to diminish. Still, these coins were indispensable for daily trade and continued to be minted in large quantities. Some numismatists note that the 1972 10 Sentimo represents a transitional coin, bridging the gap between the old pre-decimal coinage designs and the modern Philippine peso system we know today. The use of steel clad with copper nickel also reflected the country's economic realities. Precious metals were avoided to keep costs low, ensuring coins could be produced in bulk without burdening the treasury. For many Filipinos, the 10 Sentimo carried sentimental value. Parents often gave children a few coins for treats or school needs, creating cherished childhood memories. Tied to this humble piece of currency, the coin also traveled far beyond Philippine borders. Filipino migrant workers often carried coins like the 10 Sentimo as tokens of home, reminders of their roots, while working abroad in the Middle East, the US, or Europe. Culturally, the 10 Sentimo 1972 is a piece of art. The engraving of baliktas was carefully detailed, ensuring his likeness remained recognizable on such a tiny coin. It reflected the skill of Filipino engravers of the era. Historically, it captured the mood of a nation at the crossroads, a mix of pride and heritage, government propaganda and economic survival. Coins like this one remind us that history lives not just in books but also in everyday objects. For collectors today, the 10 Sentimo 1972 is valued more for its historical significance than its market price. In excellent condition, it might fetch a few dollars, but today, we are diving into the detailed history of the Philippine 10 Piso coin issued in 2005. This coin is not just an ordinary piece of metal. It's a work of art that captures a part of the nation's evolving story. Every time you hold one, you are holding a symbol of the Philippine struggle, triumph, heritage, and growth. The 10 Piso 2005 coin has layers of meaning that reflect not only the country's economy, but also its history and identity. Let us take a long journey into its story. The 10 Piso coin was introduced in the late 20th century as inflation and economic shifts demanded higher value coinage. By 2005, the Philippine economy was at a point where the 10 Piso coin had become an everyday necessity. Paper bills of the same denomination were being phased out because they wore out quickly, while coins could withstand decades of use. This practical reason behind the creation of the 10 Piso coin already reveals how the economy shaped the way money was designed. But there is more. The design of the 10 Piso 2005 coin is deeply symbolic. On its obverse side, we see two great Filipino patriots, Apolinario Mabini and Andres Bonifacio. Mabini, the brains of the revolution, was a man of extraordinary intellect who guided the revolutionary government with his writings and ideas. Despite being paralyzed, his presence on the coin reminds Filipinos of the power of wisdom and resilience. On the other side, Bonifacio, the father of the Philippine Revolution, represents courage and leadership, a man who rallied the Katipunan against Spanish colonial rule. Having both men together on the same coin speaks volumes. One represents wisdom, the other bravery, a perfect balance in the nation's history. The reverse side features the logo of the Banco Central ng Pilipinas BSP, the central bank, along with the coin's denomination. This design choice places the coin within the broader narrative of the Philippines' financial system, showing the role of the BSP in stabilizing and managing the economy. The coin is made of a bimetallic composition, with a silver-colored outer ring and a golden inner circle. This modern design, similar to other high-denomination coins around the world, gives the 10 Piso a distinct and attractive look that made it stand out from lower denominations. Now, the 2005 version of the 10 Piso carries its own unique value for collectors. While millions were minted, coins from this period are often sought after for their condition, rarity in higher grades, and historical context. Many collectors specifically search for coins from the mid-2000s because they mark the transition period of Philippine coinage before newer designs were released under the BSP's New Generation Currency Coin Series. In 2018, this means the 2005 10 Piso is a representation of an entire era in Philippine numismatics, now becoming a collectible piece. The 10 Piso coin has a unique position in Philippine currency because it was created during a time when the nation was modernizing its coinage while still preserving its heritage. The 2005 issue of the 10 Piso features two powerful figures in Philippine history: Andres Bonifacio, the father of the Philippine Revolution, and Apolinario Mabini, known as the sublime paralytic and brains of the revolution. This pairing was not accidental. By combining the legacy of Bonifacio, who symbolized courage and action, with Mabini, who embodied wisdom and intellect, the Banco Central ng Pilipinas wanted to remind Filipinos of the importance of both bravery and thought in shaping the nation. What makes the 2005 coin particularly interesting is that it represents the second phase of modern Philippine coinage. The early 2000s was a period when the Philippines was moving away from paper denominations for smaller values and reinforcing coins as more durable currency. The 10 Piso banknote, which had circulated for decades, was slowly being replaced by this bimetallic coin. The decision was driven by economic logic. Coins last for decades, while paper money wears out in just a few years. The design itself is rich in national pride. The obverse side of the coin proudly displays the portraits of Bonifacio and Mabini, while the reverse side bears the seal of the Banco Central ng Pilipinas. Surrounding the portraits are inscriptions not only identifying the figures but also anchoring the coin to the country's revolutionary history. When people held this coin in their hand, they weren't just holding money. They were holding a reminder of the sacrifices made for Philippine freedom. Collectors today often point out that the 2005 issue is special because it was part of a broader redesign in the early 2000s. The use of a bimetallic structure with a brass center and a nickel ring made it stand out compared to other lower denominations. Its appearance resembled international coins such as the euro and certain Asian currencies, reflecting the Philippines' growing integration with the global economy. Historically, the release of this coin also aligned with the presidency of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo during a time of significant political challenges and reforms. While the coin does not directly reference her administration, its issuance in 2005 marks an era when the Philippine economy was undergoing both struggles and growth. Thus, the 10 Piso coin silently documents a period of resilience and modernization. Culturally, the inclusion of Andres Bonifacio on the coin was especially meaningful. For decades, Philippine coinage and paper money had primarily featured presidents, political leaders, and national figures recognized by government institutions. Bonifacio, a revolutionary leader who was once underappreciated, compared to figures like José Rizal, found his rightful place on everyday currency. This move sparked national